After calculating what will be the break even point, X at break even point, and what will be the break even point sales, now let us discuss some of the important terminologies which may ask in the GATE paper. The first one is, let us discuss about contribution margin. The first term is contribution margin. Contribution margin. This we will denote with the help of CM, contribution margin. Right. It is also known as your marginal profit or gross margin. Right. There are so many names of this. They may say that it is marginal profit. This is also known as marginal profit or gross margin. Gross margin. Right. Now let us see what will be the contribution margin. Contribution margin will be equal to, if I write formula, then contribution margin will be equal to total sales minus total variable cost. Not total cost, minus total variable cost. Total variable cost. This is your contribution margin. Total sales minus total variable cost. Right. So we can write contribution margin will be equal to total sales minus total variable cost. Right. So this will be equal to, what is total sale? That is small s into x minus total variable cost is small v into x. So we can say that the contribution margin will be equal to small s minus small v into x. X is the number of unit produced or number of units sold. This is your contribution margin. Now, what this contribution margin will tell us, we can say that if you see from here, this small s minus small v, this will represent, this small s minus small v is known as contribution. This small s minus small v is known as contribution. Contribution means, right, it will tell us that if you increase the number of units produced by 1, right? Suppose right now you are producing only 10 units. Now if you want to produce 11 units, then what will be the increase in profit? Right, increase in profit is this one, small s minus small v. Right, for 1 unit the selling price will be small s. For 1 unit the variable price is small v, variable cost is small v. We are not mentioning here fixed cost because fixed cost is not depending upon the volume of production. Right, so you may produce any amount of quantity but the fixed cost will remain same. So this fixed cost will not affect your profit. The profit will be affected by the two factors. We can say that what is the total sale, what is the selling price of 1 unit, and what is the variable cost incurred for 1 unit. So this small s minus small v is your contribution. Right, it means that contribution in the profit, if we increase the x by 1 unit, this is contribution in profit. Contribution in profit if we increase the x, that is the number of units produced by 1 unit, then the contribution in the profit will be this one only, because f is fixed cost is your constant, right? It will not, your fixed cost is constant, so it will not change your profit. This is constant, it will not depending upon the number of units produced, so it will remain constant. So this is the contribution margin, that is total sales minus total variable cost. Now because we know that from our earlier discussion, we know that if I write that the total sales if I write like this, the total sales will be equal to total cost, that is fixed cost plus variable cost plus profit. Right? From here you can write small sx minus small v into x will be equal to f plus p. So this will be your contribution margin. So contribution margin will be calculated with the help of this formula. Either you can calculate with the help of this selling price minus your total sales or total variable cost, or fixed cost plus profit. This is your contribution margin. Now some of the important concept which we will, some of the important terms, let us discuss with the help of this PPT. We have, so we can say that now first one is angle of incidence, right? Angle of incidence. This is the angle of incidence between the lines of total cost and total revenue. Total cost and total revenue. Suppose this is the graph. Here we have cost on this axis, where here we have cost, and where here we have number of units. Number of units produced, right? So we know that this will be the total cost line. This blue line is the total cost line. So you know that total cost will be equal to how much? Fixed cost plus variable cost. And this is your revenue line, right? This is your revenue line. This is your revenue line. If I show here, this revenue will be equal to small s into x. So we can say that this point is your break even point. This point is your break even point. Here we have loss, here we have profit. So the angle between these two, this angle is denoted with the help of theta, that is known as angle of incidence. That is known as angle of incidence. So we can say that higher is the angle of incidence, faster will be the attainment of considerable profit for given increase in production over break even point. So if this theta is more, then for a given production, for a given unit of production more than this break even point, the increase in the profit will be more, right? So this is basic mathematics. If you see that, if I can say from here, let us say that suppose if the angle is more, right, let us say here, suppose this is the total sales line and this is the variable cost. This is the total cost, right? So if this angle is more, then at a particular x more than this break even point, let us say this x, so profit will be more if this theta is more. Suppose if this theta is less, let us say if this theta is less, this is the sales and this is the variable line, or you can make like this. This is the total sales and suppose this is the variable cost, total cost. So this angle theta is less. So at a particular x corresponding to this more than break even point, the profit will be less, right? If this theta is more, then at a given x more than the break even point, at a given x, then the profit will be more. So that is written here, that higher is the angle of incidence, faster will be the attainment of considerable profit for a given increase in production over this break even point. So we always prefer that this angle of incidence will be as high as possible, so that you will attain a very good profit if you cross this break even point, this danger point. So we can say that higher the value of theta makes system more sensitive to changes near the break even point, right? Now next is your what will be the assumption in break-even analysis, right? What are the various assumptions in break-even analysis? We are assuming some of the assumptions. First one is selling price is constant. Generally, selling price of any product is not constant. It will depend upon so many factors. It will depend upon the demand, supply condition, other competition, other competitor price, it will depend upon. But we are assuming that the selling price of the product is constant. There is a linear relationship between sales volume and cost, right? We are assuming that the sales, or you can say the sales, is directly proportional to the number of units produced. We are assuming this, that small s is directly proportional to x. We are assuming a linear relationship, and production and sales quantity are equal, right? We are saying that the number of units you are producing, the same units you are selling, right? But in actual, that will not be the condition. The production will be more or the sale will be less, right? It depends upon the situation, but we are assuming that the number of units x which you are selling, x at sales, will be equal to x which are produced, right? So you are assuming that the amount you are producing is equal to the amount you are selling. No other factor except quantity will affect the cost. We are assuming that there is no other factor except the quantity of the production will affect the cost. We see that the fixed cost and the variable cost of the production, or the selling price of the fixed cost and the variable cost will only depend upon the number of units produced. But in actual condition, that will not be a case, right? So many factors are there which will increase or decrease the total cost, right? Availability of the raw material, transportation cost, right? Or you can say the electricity charges, government subsidies. So many factors are there which will make the changes in the cost, which will affect the total cost of production, but we are neglecting them. We are saying that only the amount of units produced will only affect the total cost. So these are the 4 assumptions which we are using in the break-even analysis. Next one is, now most important thing is cost volume profit analysis, right? Or PV graph. Next is your profit volume graph, PV graph. So if we say that, what is this PV graph? First of all, let us discuss about this PV graph. This is the PV graph. On this axis, we have, suppose this is point 0, right? Here we have above this point 0 we have profit, here we have profit, here we have loss, right? And here we have units of production. Here we have units of production. So we can say that, suppose this is a profit line, this is a profit line, this is profit line. So where this profit line will intersect this axis, where the cost is 0, here the profit is 0, so this point is known as break-even point. This point is known as your break-even point, where the profit is 0. So this is your break-even point. So we can say that here we have loss, this area we have loss, here we have loss, and above this we have profit. This is the PV graph, profit versus volume of production or unit of production. In this is your fixed cost. This value is your fixed cost. This is your fixed cost, right? This is your fixed cost. Intercept on the y-axis is your fixed cost. We will see it with the help of some formula. Let us discuss this. So if I write here that you know this equation, one second. Love this. We know this equation that the total selling price will be equal to fixed cost plus variable cost plus profit. This we know, right? This we know. From here I can write profit will be equal to small s minus small v into x minus fixed cost. So this will be the equation of a line. This is the equation of line. If you compare this with this equation of line, that is y is equal to mx plus c, then the slope here, the y is profit and x is the number of units. So this is the line on, or if you plot this, this is between profit and volume of production. So we can say that the slope of PV graph, what is the slope of PV graph? This is the slope, that is small s minus small v. This is the slope of PV graph, which will be equal to contribution margin. This is the slope of PV graph, and this constant or the intercept on the y-axis, this constant will be equal to fixed cost. Right. So if I show it from here, so we can say this is the fixed cost and this is the profit volume graph. So this is your profit volume graph. Now we can say from here that what do we mean by profit volume ratio, right? Profit volume ratio will be equal to, if you talk about profit volume ratio, this will be equal to your sales minus variable cost per unit sales, that is small s minus v upon small s. This is your profit volume ratio. Or this will be equal to, you can write like this, your fixed cost plus profit upon total sales. This will be the profit volume ratio. Or you can say this will be equal to change in profit or contribution divided by change in sales, right? So if I show it like this, suppose what will be the profit volume ratio? The profit volume ratio will be equal to, if I want to write what will be the profit volume ratio, will be equal to, this will be equal to your sales minus total variable cost per unit sales. Sales minus total variable cost divided by sales. This will be your profit volume ratio, and this will be equal to your contribution margin to the volume of production in sales, right? This is your contribution margin divided by total sales. Contribution margin divided by total sales. This will be the profit volume ratio. Right. This will be the profit volume ratio. Now, S minus V can be written as, from here you can write this will be equal to, profit volume ratio will be equal to, this will be equal to, if you want to find out, if you take small s minus small v divided by small s, contribution upon total sales, and this will be equal to fixed cost plus profit upon total sales. Fixed cost plus profit upon total sales. This will be the PV ratio, right? And just remember one thing, this PV ratio will always be constant for a product. This is important thing, this will always be constant for a product. PV ratio will always be constant for a product, right? And it will represent what will be the profit relationship between profit and the volume of production. So we can say from here that the profit volume ratio will be equal to sales minus variable cost per unit divided by sales, right? This, if you misunderstood this will be S minus V upon S, or this you can write, this will be equal to F plus P divided by S, or this can be written as your change in contribution or change in profit divided by change in sales. So I can say from here that PV ratio will be equal to, if I write here, PV ratio will be equal to change in profit divided by change in sales. Change in profit divided by change in sales and two other formula is F plus P divided by S or S minus V divided by S. These are the profit volume ratio. You may find out in the question, they may ask what will be the profit volume ratio. So with the help of this diagram, you will be able to calculate what will be the profit volume ratio, and this is the profit volume graph. This is the profit volume graph, right? Now, so this is all about what we talk about is, this is all about the break-even analysis and some of the important topics, some of the important points which we want to discuss. Now, one more thing which I want to share here is another term which they may ask is your margin of safety, which we already discussed through graph. What is the meaning of margin of safety? Margin of safety means that how far you are from the danger point. Right? It will represent that how far you are from the break-even point, and it will be given by this term margin of safety, right? So this will be equal to, if we talk about what will be the margin of safety, if we talk about in terms of sales, margin of safety in terms of sales will be equal to what is the sales at any unit of production, let us say at X, minus sales at break-even point, This will be the margin of safety sales, right? This will be the margin of safety sales, that is sales at any unit of production X minus sales at break-even point. So if you see from this diagram, if we will see this, if you can see from this diagram, we make this chart here, this chart, break-even chart. So from here you can see that this is your margin of safety sales. This is your margin of safety sales, right? How far you are from this danger point, that is break-even point sales. So suppose at any X, suppose at this X you want to find out, so this will be equal to sales at this point minus sales at break-even point, right? Simple thing you want to find out, what will be the sales at any production at any X minus what will be the sales at break-even point. You already calculated what will be the sales at break-even point. So this will be the margin of safety. Now, in some of the question they may ask, what will be the margin of safety percentage? What is the percentage of margin of safety? How much percentage you are far from the danger point? So you may find out what will be the margin of safety in terms of percentage. So this will be equal to sales at any X minus sales at break-even point. What will be the sales at break-even point divided by sales at X into 100. This will be the margin of safety percentage into 100. This will be the margin of safety percentage. You have to remember this formula, right? This formula. Just simple, you just remember what is the margin of safety. This will be equal to sales at any point X minus sales at break-even point. So you can easily find out what will be the sales at any point X, and you already know that what will be the sales at break-even point. So this, from here you will get what is the margin of safety percentage. So you can also write that the margin of safety percentage will be equal to, what is this, sales at any X minus sales at break-even point. This is margin of safety in terms of sales divided by sales at any X multiplied by 100. So this is your margin of safety percentage, right? This is your margin of safety percentage. You have to remember this formula, right? So this is all about the break-even analysis. Very simple topic, very less chances there that you will get a question in GATE, but just to understand that what do we mean by the break-even analysis, we discuss this.